Sing with me. Repeaters, what are they good for? Some say absolutely nothing. Is next on Live Free and Ham. Anyway, hello and welcome to Live Free and Ham podcast. This is your weekly show where we discuss ham radio topics in New Hampshire, New England, and beyond. And we're thrilled to have you here. And whether you're a regular listener or tuning in for the first time, we thank you for joining this episode and hanging out with us. So let's get into the show. I'm your host, Eric, call sign N1JUR, and I'm with my wonderful co-hosts.
Hey, it's Paul, N1OG.
And Todd, W1STJ.
All right. Well, as we always do every episode, we'd like to get it before we get into our topic, I should say, we always like to catch up on a few things. So our storefront is always up at livefreeandham.com/shop, and you can head over and check out all our merch. We've got a couple of, actually one thing that I just recently saw that came across our, storefront as an order. Dave Carlson, he picked up a sweet pair of our limited custom etched Live Free and Ham glasses. So good for you, Dave, to jump on that. And Paul is showcasing that for those podcast listeners who are not watching us live on video. They are available in our store, and there's only a few left. So don't be like, anybody else and just sit around and wait, And I have to say, maybe if you're, as a bonus offer, if you're a Patreon member, there was a 30% coupon, that kind of went off there. So, if you want to save some money, that's a nice way to pick up a few glasses. That's what I'm saying, hey, just it's there and it's available. But we, again, thank you everybody who have purchased on our show and we on our storefront, and we appreciate y'all, and thanks for help supporting the show. So, as always, like I mentioned, we still have a limited supply of the custom etched Live Free and Ham dram. So if you haven't gotten one, or if you're trying to figure out when you want to get one, like I said, we've given you a couple of examples. What more do we have to do? Physically drive down to your doorstep and hand you one in a hand and take your cash and walk home with it. I don't know what more we can do. But either way, like I said, you can come, pick one of those up, because once they're gone, they're gone. And I guarantee you're going to be pretty sorry if you don't have one in your own arsenal there. I know I enjoy mine all the time, and it's always, great to have as a great token to support Live Free and Ham. So, as always, we've got the Hamlets in big supply. I just restocked all of those. So feel free to head over to Get Hammed if you don't know what that is. You get a little story and an understanding of what it's all about. But you can pick up there and pick up your own Get Hammed. I've been keeping an eye out myself and handing those out on a few cars and vehicles as I go out on the weekends errands with the wife. She's beginning to pick up on my little antenna radar that I do every time I pull into a parking lot. And she'll just roll her eyes at me and just tell me, go do something different. And so, I've been handing a few out. It's been fun. So, that's one way we can continue to support and have some fun in the community. And so with that, let's get into the usual stuff. We love our feedback. And so we got a couple of ways you can always reach out to us. And we actually have listeners who've been doing that. So we thank you guys. You've been hearing our cries. But as always, you can reach out to us via SMS. There's a link in all of our show note descriptions. And that's a quick, easy way to share that, latest comment or feedback from any of our episodes. We'd love to hear from you guys, and we want to, continue to, build the community and converse with you guys. You can always leave us a voicemail, and, we have our tried and true Live Free and Ham voicemail, and you can now send your deepest thoughts, express your devoted love to us, or show, or even remind us how, we have to renew our HF warranties on our radios. We're all here to listen, and we want to share your message. And that number to call is 978-233-1142. Yes, 1142. Oh my gosh, my brain, my 50-year-old brain is slowing down, folks. You can watch it happen in real time. All right, so don't wait any longer. We have volunteers standing by to take your message. So, and if you're like one of the old timers who, prefer a good old fashioned, email, you can send it to us to livefreeandham at gmail.com, and we'll respond there. And as always, we have our monthly live stream. So in addition to all of our regular weekly episodes, you can now come be a part of the live stream. And we, as we always say with all of our live streams, we never know where we're going to have it. So in essence, the best way we recommend is make sure you're subscribed to our live stream. Make sure you ring that notification bell so you get notified when we go live, and you can come be part of the craziness and madness that we call our live stream on Live Free and Ham. So, we love to have you there. Come hang out and be part of, a great community there. So And lastly, as we always talk about, our little secret, if you want to be one of the cool kids, head over to our Patreon page. And, as a subscriber, you're going to get immediate access to all our shows before they're released to the public. So you get that bonus, you get sneak peeks, you get to listen to the uncut, unfettered, realistic babble and, countdown to Todd's retirement, all wrapped up to a nice pretty bow. And you get access to other things like early discounts and early orders on merchandise and a whole slew of more stuff. So, you can always head over there and become a Patreon member and help support the show because we appreciate it and it helps us continue to do what we love to do. So we thank you guys for those that have hopped over there. And I don't know if Paul is rolling our, yep, there he is. He's already on the ball, man. I should have just waited and slowed my roll there, but he's rolling all of our Patreon members down in the scrolling thing, thingamabob, whatever they call it, that thing at the bottom. Man, see, I'm telling you, man, it's just
the ticker.
the ticker. This is what happens, Todd, when you hit 50. It just slowly starts to like a crash that happens in real time. You just kind of watch in slow motion.
Oh yeah, the memory goes, your body goes.
Awesome, excellent. So this is going to be the 80-meter net soon enough. So, all right. Well, with that,
the 80-meter podcast.
I'm surprised that hasn't already happened yet. So with that, let's kick off to our first one.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
Everybody, we got some news.
Slow down, Boog. Let me handle this. We've got some news. I've got bad news and bad news.
I have reviewed ship's personnel, Captain.
Congratulations, you've got mail.
Yes, we do. So, Todd, we got anything new in the voicemail box or anything?
We do.
Email?
We didn't get any emails. We didn't get any other contact except we got a voicemail. And I thought this was a good voicemail because they're asking about Ryan. So when I heard this, I called Ryan and told him that someone was looking for him or wondering who the hell he was. And he was flying somewhere and he was actually at a bar because he ordered at those Zeki's, I think. And I'm like, well, enjoy those beers. He goes, how do you know I'm drinking beer? I'm like, I can hear you ordering them. But he thought it was pretty funny. So yeah, so let's play that voicemail and we can find out who where in the world is Ryan. I know he's home now.
Hey guys,
he was on.
This is Bob Kopp. I'm watching your February show on YouTube, and I just joined your Patreon at the $5 level, and I see that you have 406 subscribers to your YouTube channel, and I'd like to encourage as many of those as possible to join your Patreon. You can join for as little as $3 a month. It's not a big expense. Hey, I got another question for you, though. On your YouTube channel, it says the hosts and who you all are, but it says Ryan. Who is Ryan? I haven't seen him yet. Talk to y'all later. I look forward to your next show next month. Thanks. I really enjoy Paul's questionnaires about the extra license test. That's one of my favorite parts of the show. Thanks. Bye.
All right, two things on that. Number one, go watch the first podcast and you will see Ryan. Actually, no, you have to listen to Ryan. Because is that on YouTube? The first one?
Nope.
No.
First 5 or 6 episodes were not on.
So you have to listen to Ryan.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and like I was telling the boys here that the best part of the show and the only part of the show that people listen to is the testing of myself with Paul and Eric getting them wrong, even though he's an extra. And they didn't believe me. So you just clarified it. So I appreciate that. I love being right.
Excellent. When it only happens too few and far between.
Oh,
Bob, well, we thank you, Bob. I think that was an awesome voicemail. It all made us laugh when we heard it because we were like, my gosh, I keep forgetting that like we have new subscribers come on all the time and they've never known because Ryan hasn't been on in a while. He's been, flying around halfway around the globe. So We were talking about maybe having a little segment where we call it like, where in, like, instead of like, where in Carmen San Diego, where is Ryan W1SNH now? And, pull up a world map and see if we can, pinpoint him or something like that. But, we'll put that in the works. But I think, since everyone still loves something extra with Todd, which I never thought, we would have to continue this legacy forever, even after his extra happens.
After I get my extra, we're gonna go back and we'll test me on the technician. We'll keep doing it, rotating.
You heard it here, folks. One unique episode.
We'll get someone else. That's for sure. But it was, Bob, it was really funny because I was driving back from baseball. My son was at baseball at the Dome. I had to go drop something off at the car dealership, and I was driving back to the Dome, and I called them, and it was a pretty funny conversation because I'm like, well, I must say on the YouTube page, you're one of the hosts, which you are, but you haven't been on in a while, so he was looking for you. So he got a good laugh out of it.
Yeah, I think the last time he was on was, I'm going back here, we had a live stream, right, with him. I think was the last time he was.
Yeah.
I'm going back.
It's been a good long while because I always throw him up.
There he is.
Yep. There he is.
Hey, so Bob, Ryan. If you watch, that's Ryan.
There's Ryan. He's with us.
Yeah, it wasn't a live stream. I'm actually going back.
I know, I've talked to him about, he's got a friend that helped him with his tower. And I said that I wanted to maybe have him go to his friend's, he lives in, what is the town? Where's that Maple
Ryan live?
No, Ryan lives in Milford, but where is the Maple,
Maple Barn?
Yeah, where is that? What town is that in?
That's Brookline.
Oh, it is in Brookline? What's past Brookline? There's another town out there, I think is where he lives. But anyway, he helped him with his tower, and the guy's got like he's a contester, and he's got like a huge shack and all. Ryan was telling me about it. And this was like when we first started, I said, we got to get that guy on the podcast. Like maybe you can kind of do it from his shack, and like, we can be here or whatever. I'll just all go down there just to see his towers and stuff. So I'll have to get on Ryan to see if we can get on that and get that one maybe in the spring.
Well, the guy's a big contester. It's K.
Yeah.
Parker's Maple Barn is 1349 Brookline Road, Mason.
Mason. That's where the guy lives. Mason.
That's it. Mason. Yep.
Okay. All right. So that was good.
Yeah, I can't find the episode. Man, it's good. It's pretty far back. But anyway, yeah. So. Oh well. Well, yeah. We miss Ryan. Every time we do the episode, it's always fun to have his commentary, and we'll definitely have to have him back on when he's not busy flying. Maybe remote.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Bob, we thank you again for leaving us a voicemail. And like we say to everybody, our voicemail line is open 24/7. So if the moment strikes you at 2 a.m, feel free to call the number. It won't wake us up. Leave a message, and we'll be gladly to share it on our next episode, like Bob did. And, Bob, we thanks for the shameless plug there because, without you, we can't continue to keep this going here. So, he is definitely a Patreon member there, and we appreciate him helping us out and being part of the community. And so, like he said, just for $3 a month, I feel like it's an ESPCA commercial, like with the arms of the stranger. Where's that song in the background? Shit, we should program or plug that in.
Yeah, I don't have that one, but I do have this.
It's free and hand, you can. Join the fun, be the biggest fan. Call that number and lend an ear. With free and hand, it's crystal from.
I totally forgot about that, dude. Yes, we were working on that jingle, and we finally got it. It's not as good as his N1 QC jingle, which is I think trending now on most of the top 20, and
I think the winter field day one is awesome,
dude. That is
That was a good one.
audio gold.
Yeah.
Gold. You're gonna, to go to that next level when you do summer, you might have to do little tweaks, but people are still going to be hearing the winter field day part of it somewhere in the lyrics.
Yeah, right.
It worked out good. So yeah, and if you don't understand what we're talking about, you can head over to Paul's page, go over to the Grouch of New Hampshire, and he's got a link. We'll throw the link in the description, but he posted his official track to our N1QC Winter Field Day. We'll call rock anthem because it was totally awesome. Everyone, we posted the club and everybody outside of it has been like, dude, that's the best song in the world. So kudos, hats off. Very cool. All right. Well, with that, I think, we all know, where you can leave your messages, and we'd love to hear from everybody. But let's kick into our next.
Doing good. Good. Doing good.
You do. That's good.
Do good. Do good.
You're doing good.
Absolutely, I do. Good. Good.
Doing good, Bob. Doing real good.
Right now, my only outlet is my ham radio.
All right. Well, we all aspire to do good in ham radio. So whether you might be assisting during a disaster, providing communications for a local road race, or hosting that awesome POTA meetup, we all love to participate in ham radio activities. But however, sometimes we allow those negative voices to overshadow our enjoyment. And we're going to get into a little bit of that a little later. But so I raise my fist and say, bring on that good deeds, my friend. And you can share your story with us. We'd love to hear it. So maybe you have a experience that you can share your first ham radio experience with a total stranger while you were activating a park, or teaching a student, a family member, or neighbor about the joys of ham radio. Or maybe you got to demonstrate a new freaking A, man. Fire me now. or got to demonstrate a new technician that thrills up HF at the club's field day. My gosh, man. I'm just working myself on a job today. And we all want to hear about it. So, this week we don't actually have, I didn't see anything in the inboxes. Any of you guys see anything come across the Discord or anything like that? All right. Well, so that's okay. We totally understand. It's been a very kind of, at least up here in the Northeast, a locked in winter. A lot of us have been, got about 1.5 feet, 2 feet of snow in our, backyards there. So not a lot of us have been, dying to get out to do POTAs and stuff like that. And, playing a lot of the radio has mostly been in our shack. So, I can understand not having an experience like that. But hey, if you do have one, you can always share it with us in 3 easy ways. Excuse me, you can leave us a voicemail at 978-233-1142. Or you can always head over to our web form at livefreeandham.com/do-good. And you can use that form and leave your story there. And we'd love to hear it and share it with everybody, because we're all about sharing the love in ham radio and sharing all the cool stuff that's going on. And I know there's stuff going on every day. I talk to a bunch of people on the repeaters. There's always some cool stuff happening. So, we'll probably have a couple coming in the future, because I know we're doing some real cool stuff in our club that I definitely want to inspire others to go do in their clubs. So, hopefully we can, spread the love there. But outside of that, if you are one of those adventurous types, which we have a few in our midst, we have the option where you can send us a WinLink to N1OG, and only N1OG, because Todd and I are too lazy to set up our own WinLink accounts. But I'm going to remedy that soon. I swear. This is my 2025 resolution. It's my bucket list item. Get on WinLink. Is to send an email to N1OG and share your story that way. And because you were so amazing at doing that, Mr. Type A, that, we're going to invite you on to maybe a future live stream, or we're kind of planning, maybe we invite a couple people on that, have all done a Do Good episode. We'll call it the Do Good episode of, or the Do Good mega episode or something like that. I don't know. And we can all share some cool stuff on there. So we're working that out a little bit as we're, kind of spitballing here, but we all want to share our experiences. We all want to hear all the cool things that are going on ham radio, and what better place to do it. All right. Without further ado, apparently the best segment out of this whole entire podcast, and nothing else really matters.
No,
content otherwise.
No. I thought aren't you going to ask us what we're going to do? What we've done this week in ham radio?
No, we do that. Wow, man, you are suffering from CRS. That's after I do your little something extra.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
we always do the segment, and then we do the hey, how was your week, and then we do the show.
And then we'll go put you to bed and tuck you in.
All right. My bad.
My bad too, my friend. I get it. It's the circle of trust we have here tonight. No harm. All right. Without further ado.
And now, a little something extra with Todd. W1STJ.
All right, before we start this, I'm not happy with what's going on with my brain because I'm getting worse and I'm studying. So my aptitude has dropped down. I did the test and it was the worst one I ever did. I don't know what the hell's going on, but.
Well, we'll try to take it easy on you tonight.
I just don't.
Oh, you struggled?
I can't understand. I'm like, how can I don't
know. Either way, we'll all have fun with it. So anyway, let's frame this thing out like we usually do. So yeah, you've heard it here. This is where we help Todd study for his extra class license. Each episode, we pick 3 questions from that extra class pool that so struggles, and racks his brain to test his knowledge and hoping he gets his upgrade. So if you'd like to follow along, you can head over to hamstudy.org, which is a great resource to help you prepare for your test and is recommended by 3 out of 4 volunteer examiners because, as always, the ARL doesn't want to respond to our comments. So with that, without further delay, my wonderful VE Quizmaster, take it away, Paul.
All right, Todd. Well, we are not advancing to sub-element number 8. We're going to stick with sub-element number 7.
Okay.
But I'm very much looking forward to maybe a month from now we can do all the questions.
Maybe we'll see. I'm hoping.
All right. Well, question number 1 for this evening. What is the function of taps in a digital signal processing filter? Is it A, to reduce excess signal pressure levels? B, select the point at which baseband signals are generated? C, provide access for debugging software? Or is it D, provide incremental signal delays for filter algorithms?
I'm going to go with D, provide incremental signal delays for filter algorithms.
I'm going to go with B because I think we did this question.
We have done this question, and Todd is correct.
Ah! Oh.
So for context, since, some people may not remember, the hint, the only correct answer has the word delay in it. So there you go. The surface of the quartz crystal, the tap delay line has become the general scheme, making high Q filters in many different ways.
Nice job, Todd. Nice job.
All right. Question number 2. Which of the following types of linear voltage regulator operates by loading the unregulated voltage source? Is it A, a series regulator? B, a shunt regulator? C, a shunt current source? Or D, a constant current source?
I'm going to go with B, shunt regulator.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that one too.
Well, we've definitely had this one before as well. You have a good memory, sir. You got it right.
Great job.
So, for those that may be hearing this question for the first time, an example of a shunt regulator is using a Zener diode in series with a resistor between supply and ground. The Zener diode establishes a constant voltage drop, and the resistor sets a constant current. You can immediately dismiss 2 of the possible answers because regulator appears in both the question and the answer.
Sweet.
All right, Todd, great job so far. You're two for two.
Whereas
Don't
I
fuck
am-
this one up.
I know this one.
All right. The third and final question of the evening. What logical operation is performed by a two-input exclusive NOR gate? Is it A, it produces a 1 at its output if one and only one input is 1? B, it produces a 0 at its output if one and only one of the inputs is 1? C, it produces a 0 at its output only if all inputs are 0? Or D, it produces a 1 at its output only if all inputs are 1?
I'm going to go with B. It produces a 0 at its input if one and only one of its inputs is 1.
You would be right, sir.
What?
Yeah.
You would be right.
Nice. 3 out of 3. Better than last show when I was 0 for 3.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Great job.
Nice. All right. So maybe I just had a couple bad days.
Maybe. Hey, either way, it's all good, man. All good. Nice.
Or you just got lucky this time and the 3 random questions have to be questions that you'd already had before.
True that.
What will he do next?
Hey, but that's how you got to learn, right?
Yep.
That's it.
Hey, and what better to do it on this show? All right. Well, wrapping this up. So if you're on the journey to studying your technician, your general, or your extra class license, then hamstudy.org is an awesome resource for getting your ticket. And as we always like to say, and we haven't had a few in a while, correct, Paul, is if you received maybe your license or maybe you got an upgrade, let us know. We want to make sure we recognize you on the next episode for your hard work and effort. You can always email us at livefreeandham@gmail.com or use any of our other methods to reach out to us. Let us know because we want to celebrate with you.
Cool.
Yeah, who was it that just got their extra? It was Jeff. Was it K3JRZ?
Oh, okay. I didn't know he did.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He got his extra. Yep.
Well, there you go, Jeff. Hey, we got you a little shameless plug there, Jeff. Cool. If you haven't been over to his channel, I think it's K3JRZ Amateur Radio, right? Or Ham Radio.
Yes.
Or yeah. So we'll put his his link in the show notes to his YouTube page. Great, POTA guy. You probably worked him if you're an avid POTA hunter or maybe an activator. And we love hanging out with Jeff because he's also part of the Tuesday night playlists and Thursday night playlists and every 5 days of the week playlist eventually. Because I don't think we have one day Friday coming.
K3JRZ on the air.
There you go. Cool. Well, we'll make sure that's in the show notes below. And as always, we appreciate all you guys sticking around to this point in the podcast. I don't know if you tail off, fall asleep, or whatever, but this is the part where we get into and we talk about our ham radio week. So in our usual format, Paul, how's your ham radio week been?
Well, so let's see. I've done a lot of 2 meter, 70 centimeter stuff. Both in the truck and from the new mobile Rouch Command Center. I'm in the process of building the mobile command center ham shack. For those that don't know, I got a 30-foot RV, and it's a bunkhouse limited edition, which the first day I brought it home, I removed the bunks because that's not what I needed. But so in place of the bunks, I put a very nice desk. I reused a lot of the material, so it matches everything in the interior, and I'm looking forward to getting that going. One of the interesting things is I learned all these new things about 75 ohm coax because we've got this 50 ohms is what you need for ham radio, right? Well, the RV has cable TV jacks built in on the inside, and it's got a cable TV jack on the outside. So if I don't have to punch a hole through the wall, and I can just use the 75 ohm that's already built in,
Sweet.
So I've been doing a lot of learning in that regard, and how using 75 ohm coax, will play in a factor on SWR and how everything is. It looks like all I got to do is just find the right length to bring my resonant frequencies into the bands, and it should be good. So
Wow.
I'm really excited about that. A lot of good learning this week.
Yeah, and
Nice.
I'm sure you're gonna be doing a crap ton more about batteries and everything else like that too. On top of that,
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah. I'll be doing a quick little video on the all powers solar generators. I picked those up to power the computer and the ham radio station. So that way, even when I'm completely off grid, I'll still have full power and be able to put solar panels out on the roof and rocking and rolling.
awesome, very cool.
Nice.
Looking forward to seeing more of those, and definitely, if you haven't, and actually, it's just a little short shameless plug for all of us is, we kind of took a little bit of a different approach, I think, to our usual channels in terms of like posting content and stuff, but we're kind of just doing these ham diary things on our site, and so on our YouTube channel, and we're curious to see what people think of it. So hey, use this as a way to tell us, whether you like the content we're producing out there. It seems to be welcomed. I'm pretty impressed. There've been a lot of comments and feedback to Todd's daily drives and Paul's plugs for repeaters and clubs and all the other stuff in between. So and my stuff of fixing freaking antennas and all the like. So yeah, I'm having fun. This is short little clips that we're putting out there amongst our regular content that we do for Live Free and Ham in general. And so let us know. We're curious. It's something you want to hear, or us talk about, let us know, and we'll see what we can put something together. All right. Well, cool. Well, awesome with the trailer stuff. Looking forward to that. And so over to you, Todd. How is your ham radio week, sir?
Well, speaking of the ham diaries, I want to give a shout out to Ryan. He lent me a snowboard, and I got to tell you this story. I need to tell this story because it was quite amazing, but it was also very painful.
Story.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have a video of me actually doing it. So I went snowboarding, and I was going to use my 1992 ASIM Air. Good thing I didn't, because when I picked it up, the binding broke. The plastic just broke up because it's 33 years old. And Ryan at W1S&H is like, dude, you can't use that. You don't want to use that. He goes, just use mine. So he's got a brand new Burton stiff board for carving, which is what I like to do, because when I was younger, I used to do the jumps and that, but I'm 53 years old, not doing the jumps.
Insurance plan can't afford it.
Yeah, it's just not happening. So he has the same size foot as me. Boots worked, board worked, get up there. I get buckled in and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? It felt like total, like, foreign, like I'd never been on one before. Now, I taught snowboarding when I was in high school. I was like, when snowboarding became a thing, when I was a ski instructor, they used to pay us Sims, Burton, and K2 were the three snowboard makers. And they would pay us back in the 80s, late 80s, $10 an hour to go up on the mountain and try to snowboard. Yep. And that's how I learned. I went up the freaking lift, strapped in, and just figured it out. Took me 3 runs and it all came to me, right? So this time, again, lucky number 3, I get up there, I go up in the bunny hill with my son, and I'm on this like little conveyor belt, and I'm barely like staying on. I'm like, oh shit, get up to the little bunny hill, I strap in and couldn't get my ass up. Could not get up on the fucking board. I forgot totally how to do it. I'm like, what the fuck? Could not get up. So finally got up, and I start going, and it's pretty flat. And if you've snowboarded before, the steeper it is, the easier it is. So I just go down, make some turns, and I'm like, all right, I'm all done. Unbuckle. Zach says, let's go up again. So we go up again. Same thing, get up there. Can't get freaking up off my ass. So buckle it in.
We'll get
10 minutes later, Zach's like, you want to take a break, Dad? You want to take a break? Granted, I haven't even done the second bunny hill run. I'm like, no, I'm fine. Get up, do the second one. I'm like, dude, we're going to the chairlift. He goes, do you know how to get on the chairlift, Dad? I'm like, yeah, I know how to get on the chairlift. So we get on the chairlift, and I finally get a break. Right now, I'm sitting down, and I'm like, oh shit, I got to get off this chairlift, right? Like, so I'm asking him. I've never been. I'm like, how steep's the dismount? And he's like, it's not that steep, but he goes, there's a little bit of a hill. I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm thinking I'm going to be one of those guys that like stops the lift because I'm going to take a dinger right off. But fortunately, I didn't.
And take a gondola down.
Yeah.
the red
so I get up there, I get buckled in again, having trouble getting buckled in. And then I go down on my third run, and it was a little steeper. And all of a sudden it came, and all of a sudden it just snapped. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember how to do this. And it was like I'd been doing it for 33 years. And I went down and blew by Zach, and he was like, you're really good. He goes, you're better than you're better than me. So I was happy. I was like, cool. And let me tell you, I got to thank Ryan, because that snowboard was the best snowboard I've ever ridden. It just carved and turned so easily. So then I came home and I looked up all the technology, and I understand why. A lot different than my board and a lot lighter. So Zach and I
tuned out of one tree. His is probably a couple of boards together.
So Zach and I snowboarded from about 10 a.m. to about 4:15. And we took he skied, or he snowboarded till 9. I stopped at 4. My lift ticket ran out at 4. I could have paid $20 more, but I couldn't move. My legs were so hurting. My calves were like getting Charlie horses in my thighs. And he had a lesson, and his friend came up, and the guy that I coach baseball with, he came up skiing. So him and I said, hey, can we go up and do like a real run? Because like these little side trails, I need something steeper. So we went on a diamond, and it was like so awesome because I was able to carve down and get some speed, and because Zach's just learning, so you got to go a little slower. So we did a couple runs, try to go back. They have this like thing where you pass a card, which last time I was skiing, you had a little paper ticket. Yep. You have a card like a hotel card. I put it inside the pocket of my glove. I thought it was for hand warmers, but I guess it's for these cards. So you walk up to the gate, or right up to the thing, and right before you're about to get in line, you put your hand up there, and it opens these like 2 little gates like that. Well, it says time ran out. No more time. I'm like, what?
You are done.
Yeah. So luckily the dude was pretty cool. He's like, yeah, I'm a chaperone. I'm supposed to be on here until like 9 o'clock. He goes, oh, you probably got the day pass. Just go talk to them. And he goes, I'll let you up. So I did one more run. We went down that thing. So we stopped, and then Andy and I, the guy I was skiing with, we went up and got some drinks and got some chicken wings. And then the kids came in after the thing and fed Zach and his friend, and then they went off to go skiing, and then Andy went with them, and I was like, all right, I'll meet you guys in the lodge. So I brought the snowboard back, and talk about losing memory, I forgot where I put freaking the snowboard, because we were always using the first one, and I'm looking, and everyone, I guess there's been like 6 sets of skis and snowboards stolen from Pat's Peak, so I didn't take my eye off this thing. So I'm looking at it, and then I go down, and I'm like, where the frick is this? And I couldn't find it. Well, because we went down the diamond trail, we put it at a different thing. So I called Andy. I go, dude, I can't find the snowboard. He goes, yeah, I'll be down in a minute. He goes, it's right here. I'm standing next to him. I'm like, where are you? He was like at 3 things over. I'm like, it's been one of those days. So highest temperature was 18 degrees at the top, and I was just wearing a windbreaker and a sweatshirt, and I was completely comfortable. Like, it was awesome. I didn't even need goggles. I just wore my sunglasses and helmet. Can't believe I'm still alive, because I never did a helmet when I was a kid, and if I didn't have a helmet, I wouldn't be here right now, because I freaking wiped out while I was trying to unbuckle, because I didn't want to sit my ass down. The board slipped out from under me right on my ass, and my head went back into ice so hard. And if I didn't have that helmet, I would have been like unconscious. I know I would have. And I'm like, how the hell did I go through my whole life? Because I used to like jump off huge jumps and quarter pipes and all that kind of crap. And I'm like, I mean, I used to jump off cliffs and shit. And I'm like, I cannot believe I never wore a helmet. So helmet, awesome. Kept my ears warm. I mean, so much I was even like sweating in it. I mean, I was like, wow, this thing is like freaking great. So that was my snowboarding. So to make this story finished, I go and sit down. I put the boards back. I go to sit down by the fire, and it's like 8:45, 9 o'clock. It's now like 4 degrees outside, and Andy's texting me, it's so effing cold, I'm coming in, but he never came in. It's so cold. These kids won't stop. So Zach comes up behind me, goes, come on, Dad, let's go. It's time to go. And I couldn't get out of the seat. I seriously could not get out of the freaking seat I was sitting in. It was like this low kind of chair. I was right by the fire. I'm like, oh, this is great. I literally was like a 90-year-old man trying to get up. Once I started...
Emotional damage.
So once I get done with that, I end up walking to the car and getting Zach return his stuff because he rents his stuff. And I get to the car, and then I have to get into the Jeep, and I literally had to like lift my leg with my hand to get into the Jeep. It hurt so bad. I'm not joking. 4 days of recovery. My thighs for the first 2 days, and then my calves for the last 2 days. And I'm like, and Zach's like, you want to do that again, Dad? I'm like, hell yeah. I said, we're getting new boards, and we're getting a season pass next year. It was so much fun. So I will be snowboarding next season with lots of that, but I will post a little video up there. Now back to ham radio. What I did for ham radio. Didn't do any
time for that.
I am joining the bandwagon, and I got a little mesh-tastic, and I hooked it all up. Got two of them.
Adjacent, but yeah, it'll work.
Yeah. Well, I got to ask a question though, because it says on the thing, like, are you licensed? Like, do I put, like, I guess you do it, it only makes you got to make your call sign, which I already made my call sign anyway.
No. Here's the deal, right? So if you put your call sign, you cannot use encryption because ham radio cannot be encrypted. If you use it as a civilian, as a Joe, you can do the encryption. So
if I labeled it W1STJ and W1STJ2, then don't
put your call sign in the call sign field. You can name it whatever you want to name it.
Okay, yeah, because when you hit on the app and you say, are you licensed? And then it changes from name to like call sign. So if you don't put that on there, then you don't have to worry about it, correct?
Correct, because then you can do the encryption.
All right, got it.
It also doesn't the license flip to the band space that we have as a option in terms of the ham radio side to work in terms of frequency, or is it still staying the same ISM space?
I think the frequency range stays the same.
Okay, but you get more power. That gives you the more power. Well, the encryption and more power. Yeah.
Yes.
Was the other option.
Yep.
If it has the option to do it.
All right. So yeah. So that was ham radio, and again, we're talking about repeaters today. So been on the repeater a lot. Been talking to people. I've been talking to I had a good conversation with Bob W1RRI. Had a good 2 conversations this last week, and I didn't realize that he used to be a pilot. So it was pretty cool. Didn't know that, and had a good conversation with him all the way to a school that I was at, and then I had to go to work. So not much HF stuff. It's just been too cold, and that's about it.
Hey, Walt, you want to see my ham radio?
No. Where do you find these things?
Oh, all across the internet, my friend. All across the
yes.
You know what you would be good at, Paul? My brother did he was a
Phenomena.
All right.
Phenomena.
You would be a good radio talk show producer, because my brother did that and he had to throw all that crap in there, like on the spot. Anyway, let's go, Eric. How was your ham radio week?
Well,
because I know one thing. You're still trying to catch up to me at the.
Oh my gosh! Literally, the gap is like 8 contacts. I can literally do that with one hand tied behind my back and an antenna that was running off a dummy load.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm working on a little bit of a ham diary post that hopefully I'll have out tomorrow for little we'll say spur of the moment activation over at our rail trail place. And I I I it's kind of funny because long story short, I threw this in the video a little bit. I used to be able to, like, when I used to go out and not be as Todd says famous and everybody pick up on you. I got to be there, on the reciprocating side of that with like a few other YouTubers that are activating, and I guess KB9 VBR was on frequency, and he was coming in like gangbusters, and of course he had a huge a pile up going on, and I'm fighting it back and forth, thinking that I'm just like the hunter at the park I'm at. And I had this like senior moment, like all of a sudden I'm listening, like trying to get my call sign, throwing mobile out there, trying to do everything to kind of like get him to pick me up. And I just realized I'm an idiot, park to park. And I just like literally sat there like, all I have to do is say park to park. And you know what I do? I yell park to park, and he's like, park to park, go ahead. I was like, oh, that was just a dumbass, such a
yeah. Michael's
move.
Pretty good about that.
and so picked him up, got him in the log there, and that was like, okay, all right. That was just such a classic, screw up there. So I had a little bit of activation there, and that was, I didn't pay attention to where I was in terms of numbers. And for those that might not know, Todd and I have kind of been, neck and neck for a little while, working the National Rail Trail with the intention that we'll both get to a certain point where we're going to do a live stream, of us activating the park as a dual kilo. And so that's coming up. So keep your eye, on that park for us when we do stuff, because we'll definitely give stuff away. I think it would be cool to do something like that.
But we should do it like a live stream too.
Oh yeah, we will. Yeah, it'll be total live stream. So we I did a little bit of that, and so that kind of checks the box for ham radio. But I've been in the background, and as Paul has been privy to this, trying to finish off what I'll call my ultimate battery build. I spent a good 6 months kind of collecting parts and putting things together, and buying all the right batteries and watching other YouTubers, build their battery boxes. And so I'm building what I'm kind of created as a working title called the Mega Box. I don't know why I want to call it that, but I'm going to stick with that and see whether it kind of sticks. But that'll be on my channel soon, because that's actually been fun. I forgot how much it's funny when you build something that you haven't built before, and then you get your hands in on it and you're like, oh, this is really not as technically complex as I made it out in my head. And so when you start like matching positive to positive, negative, and then like, oh yeah, the circuit just has to complete. It's like stupid things like that you don't apply when you're building the box out. So I'm having fun. It's got a solar generator in it, and a lot of power poles and PD charging, and a distribution block, and running off at 100 amp hour, which I'm still if you're still interested in buying that, Paul, we can talk some numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think I still might want to upgrade and buy the either the Bluetooth version of the Redodo, or the one that's got the heater option. But we'll kind of play around with it first to see whether or not it generates enough heat, because if it generates enough heat, then I don't have to worry about it freezing in the winter, which it's never going to really be in a place that it's going to be dead cold. So all said and done, that'll be built. And then I finally got the last of my video out for the HF build on all of the enhanced features. So like all of my chair add-ons, my POTA, saddle pack, all the antennas, that stuff out there. So that's over on my Patreon and will probably be released soon. So if you've been waiting for that, it's coming.
Was that the video that dropped today?
Yeah. So that went up today,
right.
and
I caught that. That was great.
Yeah, thank you. So that went out to my members and Patreon. So the regular folks will pick it up soon enough. But if you want to, become a member, head over to the channel and become one, and check out those videos. And the other thing too, which I found was pretty cool. If you remember, I did that video on the Bluetooth adapter for the 891.
Yeah.
I had one of our club members, Bill KE1G, decide to tear into it. But what I was doing was during was a Camcation, I guess VE2 DX. I think he's a big reseller. He's been building a lot of stuff. He was there at Hamcation, and a lot of the YouTubers featured him. He had a box that he was building that was supposed to be like a Bluetooth adapter for like the 891 series and stuff like that, or at least he listed it, like he could do cat control and serial control. And I'm like, oh, wow, someone finally came around to it. So I emailed them saying, your website lists something like this on it. What's the deal with it? Why don't you do the 891, or, why don't you have, the capabilities for the cat control? And, he's like, oh, the chipset doesn't work. And I'm like, have you looked at this? And I sent him my video, and he literally turned around and called me and was like, where did you get that device? I need to pick one up myself because that's exactly what I'm looking for. And if it does exactly what you said, I can will it to make it do, it on all, platforms, but I need to get my hands on one. So send me the link to buy one. And so him and I've been bouncing emails back and forth after talking. And, he's been telling me that once he finally gets the prototype together, he'll be sending it our way to kind of test it. So, I've told him he's got at least 3 guys here that would happily test the crap out of it, make sure it all works, and send you back, feedback on it. And we all love to feature it on our channels as kind of reviews. So, he's got that stuff going on. So he's interested in becoming kind of partnering with some of us at Live Free and Ham, and he's got some really cool products. So if you don't know who I'm talking about, you head over to VE2 DX and check out all the stuff he's got that he's been building. Real cool stuff related to a lot of portable and SO2R type stuff. And he wanted me to throw out real quick that I should allude to as I'm spreading rumors, because he wanted me to spread rumors, which is the weirdest thing, that I should refer to a code project called Project Mounted Police. No idea what that means. All I have to say is make it all up. We're gonna, once we find out more about it, but spread the rumors about Project Mounted Police and pay attention to his website. So we'll see where he's going with that and what that all means. But it sounds like he's got some good stuff, and I'm looking forward to the Bluetooth project with the 891. So pay attention to all that, and listen here first, because we'll be the ones to release it. So all good.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I would so love to have Bluetooth control on that 891. That would make things so slick. Yep. All right. Well, after all of that and, good stories, good stuff around, let's get into our topic. So, we kind of alluded at the very beginning, the repeaters, and we all know it's an interesting topic and kind of, one that's kind of fueled me a little bit and why we kind of dove into this. So I was talking to the guys offline a little bit. As I was watching through my YouTube videos, the nice, lovely, pretty YouTube algorithm threw something at me from another YouTuber, that the title kind of felt a little like, we'll say clickbaity a little bit, and it kind of like made me thought like, I'll look at it later. And so long story short, it was about repeaters, and it was always about the death of the repeater kind of thing. And I always kind of just brush through that stuff because I live in New England, and yes, we have repeaters that can be, for a certain audience and not for the masses, or the vice versa, where they're just not being used, or the other decisions that we have very active repeaters, and people all from all walks of life and all areas come together, share information, talk about literally anything under the sun. And, it's a very lively, very active, area. And that doesn't matter whether it's DMR or digital or, analog. It's all kind of good stuff here in New England. So maybe, we get the benefits of from the good stuff. But so anyway, so I watched the video and I sent it to the guys. I said, here, watch this video and let's talk a little bit about it. But it kind of got me thinking. I'm like, all right, guys, what we've all heard the bad stuff, and 2 videos one video that I recommend that, you may have seen is over on HRCC's channel. Josh had George KJ6VU on to talk about repeaters in the after show, and it was a really good conversation. I thought, George shared some of his thoughts, and Josh talked a little bit about, his feelings on some of the repeaters. And I kind of walked away from that going, yeah, okay. I kind of buy into some of the stuff that they said. And, and I know, some of the examples they cited with, hotspots and all of the other things that might be causing the deterioration of, active repeaters. But it kind of got me going that once I dove into watching this video, I just got more and more angry. And then by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, all right, guys, we need to talk about this, but we need to talk about it in a way that, that we can, one, carry this conversation on in our Discord with our audience, because New England's pretty big, and, there's a lot of repeaters out there, and there's a lot of great networks that are being built, both digital and analog, that we all get to benefit from in one way or another. So let's kind of dive in. So I guess from a standpoint, let's first share your experiences. I want to share, all three of us. What's your rough experience with repeaters and when you first became a ham and up to today? And if you can kind of boil that down into something really quick, is it good, bad, indifferent? And what have you felt experience wise? And Todd, you kick it off.
Yeah, I mean, I like the repeater. I mean, we have, excuse me, we have our club repeater, and then we have a lot of strong repeaters with a lot of activity around here. Fort Mountain repeater has gotten very popular over the last year. People are on it all day long. The Interstate Repeater the Interstate Repeater Society out in Derry. That's another strong one. A lot of daytime activity. I love them. I talk to people on my way to work, on the way back to work, when I get in the car. I talk to Eric a lot. Sometimes I get Paul on there, get other guys in our club, and then sometimes I get just random people who just doing radio checks or whatever. So I think I don't think they're dying or anything. I think for people who have hams, and once you get a mobile rig in your car, it opens up the world. Because I used to just do an HT, and then I had an HT with like a mag mount. It still didn't work that well. But then once I got the mobile rig in there and I got some power, it was a world of difference. So,
Okay.
So yeah, I think I disagreed with that whole video that they're dying. At least, I mean, I don't know what the rest of the country is like, but they're sure as hell not dying around here.
Yeah. Okay. What you say, Paul? Where's your kind of stance with the repeaters and HF or not HF repeaters in general with the radio?
All right. Well, this is where I'm gonna be the traditional freaking grouch here, right? So now I've seen HRCC. I've seen Josh's original video. We've had George on our show.
Yep.
So like, I mean, I'm familiar with this concept, right? Of, well, digital modes are killing ham radio, and repeaters are dying, and nobody wants to use repeaters anymore because everybody's just curmudgeon-y and old fogies. You can't talk how you want to talk. That is the biggest crock of shit I have ever heard in my life. Because now, okay, all right, you take the N1 IMO repeater system. Okay, now that is a series of networked repeaters in our area. And the owners of that repeater system, they have strict rules, right? And so if you're a person that wants to run a 5 o'clock drive home net on that repeater system, well, you're going to make some people mad and they're not going to like it. And it's their repeater. So you know what? It's theirs. Like, what we can't complain about it. It's theirs and they control it. They pay for it. It's you got to play by their rules. And so there are other options. And if the other options don't work for you, well, guess what? You can set up your own goddamn repeater, right? Fund it yourself, install a tower, and put your own goddamn repeater up. And then you could talk about whatever you want to talk about. You can control who can say what on it, who can be on it, who cannot be on it, because it's yours.
Right.
But repeaters are not dead. Repeaters are not dying. Like, just because you can't be edgy on a repeater isn't something about repeaters. That is radio etiquette. Okay? It's no different than if you're listening to an AM radio station, there are certain things that they're just not going to say. There are certain things, certain words, certain phrases, certain, political things. They're just not going to get into it because it's going to alienate the bulk of the crowd. Right. And most of the time, if you're talking on radio, you are literally talking on an open airwave. Exactly. So anybody that's on that frequency can hear what you're saying. And you may offend some people, and you may get some people that come back to you and say, hey, listen, I disagree. Okay, fine. Let's have a conversation about it. But I think being edgy for the sake of being edgy and, wanting to, swear and talk about religion and politics and the things that piss people off, and you want to get upset because some repeater owner says, hey, listen, like, I want to keep this repeater in a good standing for the bulk majority of the people who use it. I don't want to alienate people because you're the one jackass that wants to be a rebel on the freaking repeater. No. And so, honestly, this video royally pissed me off because the kid was doing nothing but trolling.
Yeah.
All right. Now he's got 1,300 subscribers, and he's taking a clip. Now it's just a clip of Josh's video.
So,
and he's like,
let me put a pin in that for a second.
Yeah,
We're going to diving into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I wanted to kind of talk a little bit around some of the unbeknownst to his video, it kind of triggered some of the ideas around me. Like, okay, so we hear, like you mentioned, Paul, like the repeaters are dying. No one's talking on repeaters, or, you know, there's too much control by the owners and so forth and so on. So I think, you know, in terms of like those areas, I wanted to break them down a little bit because in essence, I mean, you kind of hit it on the head, and I subscribe to this as well. It's like it's a pay to play kind of approach when you come to, you know, dealing with the repeaters. The people are those that build those systems offer it as a free service in most cases because it's not really locked down. I mean, they can sort of hide some of that stuff if they try. But for the majority of the use of repeaters out there in general, they're pretty wide open. And most of those, and I kind of wanted to, because there was one point that he talked about that I want to touch on the digital side a little bit, but I felt that in the conversation, and I'll refer back to kind of Josh and Josh's live stream with George, is that there has been a shift. I mean, I've been a ham for 30 plus years, and you guys have been somewhere in between that. And so your experience and my experience are going to be very different. When I grew up as a ham, all I had was analog. That was all it was what was available. So it was sort of like before cable came on the scene, you had your antenna ears on the TV and you got what you got, and that was what it was. That's how ham radio was for a good 20 plus years for me. Like, I just had analog repeaters, and that's what you used because that's what was available. And you were lucky if you were, you know, a high school kid who had barely a paper route to afford to buy an HT to be able to talk on said repeaters, unless you were given donated equipment or something. So I feel like for the 20 years or so before digital kind of and the internet kind of became the thing, that was all this what it was. And so those people that created those networks did some amazing, cool electronic stuff to be able to bridge those together, to make those happen, both using RF and, you know, electronics kind of wizardry in the backgrounds to build those networks to be able to get us connected and talking beyond our small little local communities. But for the most part, repeaters before cell phones came on the scene were always the place to go hang out and talk to people on the way home from your commutes, on the way into your commutes, you know, when you go out to get, you know, pizza for the family or something like that. You know, that was just kind of those modes of communication. It wasn't more than just a conversation party, you know, per se for folks. So I think, you know, now that we get in the dawn of the, you know, 21st century and, you know, in 2020 and beyond, that digital has been pretty popular. So digital's kind of replaced that, but digital increased this reach. You know, we went from our local communities being tied like by, you know, general geographic areas to now I can go freaking anywhere in the world now. I can talk to whoever I want in Japan or China and whatever. So it opened the door for a lot of people that might have, you know, always just been technicians. So I don't think analog is, you know, a bad thing, and I don't think digital is a bad thing. I do kind of agree that repeaters, there was in its heyday, a lot of them out there. And so like I could be a part of one and then there'd be 5 others in the same neighborhood. And, you know, depending on, you know, whether you liked George's repeater or you liked Paul's repeater, you go hang out with them and talk in that sense. So that has kind of gotten less. And so you guys, I mean, do you find yourself hanging on 1 or 2 repeaters in general? Do you have a set list that you always like defer to and talk on or listen to?
I have, you know, like I said, I always have our club repeater on because that's where most of us at least try first. And I have I've been listening because a lot of our club members now are using the Fort Mountain one too, and it has such a big range. So you always got someone going on there. And I've gotten to know some guys that use that. I've talked to them before. So it's cool when you have people that you're familiar with or that you've had conversations before. You can continue on a conversation. But I have a lot of the stronger repeaters, the active repeaters programmed in my radio. And, you know, Eric, you and I have done this before where we've started getting a bad signal or whatever, and we've gone to the Westford repeater, you know, or we've gone to Fort Mountain, or we've just switched to a better repeater. What I don't understand is there's some really awesome repeaters like the ones up in Mount Vernon, and they're super strong. Mount Vernon is a town that's up on a hill, like up, you know, it's got some elevation, wherever that repeater is, but no one ever uses it, ever. So like I use it like if you want to have a private conversation, well, not private, but like you don't want to take up the repeater because, you know, a net might be coming on or whatever. I just go to those because they're way stronger than our local one, our club one. So there are a lot of repeaters out there. Some of them just don't have activity, but the ones that do, you know, they got tons of activity. And when they get a following, they get a group going on it, they're on it all the time. So
Okay. So the dying part of ham radio is not really dying. It's just it's more of it's a people problem more than it's a technical problem per se with
yeah,
this.
I mean, yeah, I think it's kind of like, you know, getting viewers on YouTube. You know, you gotta promote it. I mean, honestly, I mean, Anthony, this kid in, I don't know where he's from. He's near the Fort Mountain repeater, got on that thing, and he just all of a sudden it's like the thing got like super popular. I didn't even know the thing existed. Or I would even.
I swear we have more N1QC club members that use that repeater than our own repeater because the coverage is just so great.
Yeah. Right. So it is, you know, it is, and we've gotten, because we've had our club members on that repeater, we've gotten club members from farther away that want to join our club because we promote our club, talk about what we're doing and stuff. And so it's been good all around. So I think it's not dying. I think it's like if you throw up a repeater, you got to get on there, you got to get people talking on it, and you got to kind of spread the word. And that's basically, you know, that's how I learned about it, because the Fort Mountain repeater, I didn't know anything about it. And then Ralph told me about it, and then I programmed it in, and boom, you know, it worked everywhere. And I like to go, when I travel throughout the state, I've gone like up to like Lincoln, New Hampshire, and it works. Warren, New Hampshire, which is far. Sure. I've heard people on Mount Washington reaching it. I was out in Hillsborough, Peterborough, you know, all these places that I was in Portland, Maine. I mean, that's a huge area. If you're not from New England, like that's a big footprint. And, that thing kicks in. So it's pretty awesome. And it got popular just because people that were on a popular repeater started talking about it, and it just happened. So, but there's tons of repeat. If you go in the repeater book, if you go on in the digital one and you just like repeaters near me, you'll see tons of them.
Right.
But they're not all, I've listened to them, like they're not active. Like I don't even think anyone uses them. But the ones that are popular, people do use, and they use them quite often.
So in the dying part of that, Paul, like you feel like the same kind of approach, like just dying is equating, like a lot of the younger generation equates it to like activity, or, you know, like the one thing I was kind of thinking was like when people say repeaters are dying, I'm thinking like usually it's a younger crowd, and the younger crowd is more accustomed to say something like Discord, where it's like immediate, like I ping you direct message or I post something on there and someone responds back quickly. Repeaters aren't sort of like that. I mean, I don't know about you, but like I'll throw my call out 5 or 6 times and I may miss somebody, like, because here's an example. I know some hams, they freaking put all of their memories in and then they press scan, and you scan through all of the channels over and over again. And every once in a while, if I happen to yell out N1JUR listening, you could have missed me in your scan. And so you'll never, like, there's no way to identify me, you know, in your, you know, searching to try to find people, which I find almost kind of funny because it's like you find nobody really in those massive scans unless you just want to create background music. But like, what did you find yourself, Paul, like that statement's just debunked and stupid, or what's your take on it? I mean, obviously.
All right. So 100% the statement that repeaters are dead is a fallacy. And if you actually pay attention, unlike this freaking troll, if you actually pay attention to what the quote unquote mainstream ham tubers are saying about repeater activity, the issue isn't that the repeaters are dead. The issue is that everybody's just listening.
Yep.
And every now and again, people will kerchunk it and go, "Oh, yeah, okay, I can hit it, and I'm getting the tone back, so I know I'm making it." But then they're not throwing their call sign out. Like, you have to throw your call sign out in order for somebody to freaking respond to you. If you're just going to sit there and you're going to bitch and you're going to go, "Oh, well, nobody's there." Well, did you say anything? Because if you didn't say anything, then you're part of the problem. Let me tell you. All right. So in my HTs, in my mobile rig, the VHF UHF, I have almost all of the active repeaters in New England, and some of them might not even be active. But I went into Repeater Book and I said, what are the repeaters around me that I can hit? And I programmed all those repeaters. So I've also got Aries channels. I've got DPW channels, and the highway department. Because I will do that. I will call out a couple times and I'll say, "Hey, N1OG mobile, N1OG mobile." If I don't get an answer back in like 5 minutes or so, well, then I'll try another repeater. I'll go from the Bedford repeater to the Epsom repeater, and I'll do the same thing. I'll call out again a couple times. If I don't get an answer, all right, well then I'm just going to hit scan, and I'm going to listen for where the activity is while I'm driving. And 99% of the time, one of those repeaters, it'll stop and it'll go, all right, no, and these people are talking. And so I'll stop scanning and I'll listen.
Yep.
And I'll go, "Oh, yeah, all right, yeah, I know what these guys are talking about. It's something that's interesting or whatever." And I'll throw my call sign out. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, all right, N1OG, come on in, and what's up, man?" And that's it. And so in no way, shape, or form are fucking repeaters dead.
Yep.
Just do like Jason 2.0 said, call out on the repeater at least once a day. Pick any repeater. And if you're not getting anything on that repeater, try another one and call out. Because if you're not calling out, then how the hell is anybody supposed to know you're there?
Yep.
Right?
And how is anybody supposed to know that, there's actually like encouraging themselves to do the same thing? Like, I've talked to hams before who have like, "Oh, I've been mic shy or whatever, but I heard you call out. So I figured, oh, I have somebody I can talk to." And so they'll call back. And, a lot of hams, and I find this with I don't know whether it's a generational thing or whatever, but like a lot of hams, like you said, they'll be like, N1JUR mobile radio check, and dead. Nobody responds to the radio check. And that's like the universal, like, "Hey, I'm looking for a conversation." It's not that they're looking for a radio check, because they know their radio works. Like, they didn't build it by hand. They didn't assemble the parts and didn't like solder something incorrectly. 9 times out of 10, they bought it at the store, plugged it in, and it works out of the box. But they're testing it because they want to have a conversation to see if it actually plays out. So, use those things like, an invite to have a conversation with somebody. And if they decide to get, they get shy or whatever, and they cut 7-3 and go quick, okay, fine. Don't take it as an insult, and move on. But you're dead right. I mean, the activity is both on you as, it's kind of funny because like when repeaters started to come out, they were great. Like, everybody's like, "Oh, I gotta jump on them. It's so real cool. And everything's awesome." And it was just like really super, active. Now it's not the repeater owner's job to like get out there and advertise. They just don't. They aren't going to. They just putting a service out there. It's your job as a ham to use your capabilities that you've been granted by the FCC from your license to go talk. Do what you're supposed to do with the hobby. That's why you got it. Maybe that's why you got into it. I don't know. That's why I did. I mean, I wanted to talk on a microphone.
I mean, think of this too. I mean, there's a lot of nets around here. I mean, I have a list of them in my phone, and some of them are daily, some of them are weekly. But there's a lot of nets, and when you get on these nets, you have you know, you get to know people get to know you, you get to check in, you're working the radio, and then that can move on into non-nets, but getting on the repeater that maybe the net was on. When I first became a ham, I was just, like everyone else, I was just a technician. So I was just doing everything on VHF, and I went through and listened to like every repeater from here to there, like as far as I could write them down. And if I heard something, I'd make a note and just try to figure out which ones were more popular than the others. But I found a net called the Phantom Net. It's out of I think it's out of Andover, Massachusetts, and they've got another one up in Pembroke, and then I'm not sure, they used to have one maybe in Pepperell. I'm not sure if they still do, but anyway, that was a cool repeater because I could reach it. I couldn't reach it on my HT, but I could reach it from my shack, and I was able to listen to these guys. And every day there's a guy who's on a pilot, and then there's a bunch of guys that talk RC planes. So I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is like all day long. This is what these guys talk about. And I started joining in on the conversation, and they knew some of the guys I knew. And, I had gone down to their club, and we were going to try to make an official thing where have like their guys come up and our guys go down for a day and fly. But it was just cool because I never met them, but I got to know them and the RC stuff. So we could talk about another hobby that I had that I like to talk about. It wasn't just ham radio. And I thought that was kind of cool that I found the Phantom Net. Now, one of the things I heard what the owner of the Fort Mountain repeater, W1ASS, what he wants to do is add another repeater up north. Because north, if you go into the dips and dews of the mountains, you kind of lose the repeater here and there. So he wants to put one up there, but he wants to make it the same frequency and the same tone. So basically his idea is to get the whole state under one umbrella and just have one frequency, and you would just connect to whatever repeater you're closest to.
So question with that, you had mentioned some of your flying stuff. When you one of the things that kind of irked me most with listening to that video was the fact that he was constantly complaining about the topics and the discussion. Like you mentioned, obviously you talked in the Phantom repeater, and they talk about RCs. Do you ever at any one given time have anybody get on the repeater owner get on and go, you can't talk about RC stuff, or anybody complain about the topic of discussion? Or have you both of you ever been on a repeater where someone's tried to chase you off?
No, I mean, I've never heard anyone. I mean, no. I mean, I've been chased off more HF frequencies than I have repeaters.
Keep telling you, stay off of 14,300. How many times do we have to tell you?
But no, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that people, like if you talk politics or you talk religion, it's kind of like, I don't have a problem if people want to do that. I don't particularly want to do that. I like to just, I just like to talk about either ham radio or stuff going on, or, like for one, here's an example. I was talking to Ralph. I was driving into work and he was on, and we were talking about fishing, and he says, he goes, a lot of club members like to go fishing. I said, yeah. And I said, I got into it again. I did it when I was a kid, but my kid's getting into it. So yeah, I did a lot of fishing this summer. He's like, well, I was thinking, he goes, maybe we should get all these guys together. Maybe just go pick a weekend or a day and go deep sea fishing, like rent a boat, charter a boat and go out. Right. And I'm like, oh, I'm in. I'm like, no doubt in my mind, I'm in. Zach will come. But we didn't talk about ham radio. We were talking about fishing, the whole community. And so I don't think there's a rule that says you have to talk ham radio. I think you can talk about whatever you want. But I think if you start getting into topics that might, can get people mad, like politics is like the root of all evil, or religion, if you're not religious, if you're an atheist or you're the wrong religion, people can get offended or whatever. I mean, I personally don't. I could care less what you talk about. And if you don't like what people are talking about on the repeater, you can turn the thing off. go to another frequency. You don't have to listen to it. It's like watching TV. Oh, this show sucks. I'm not watching this. You switch to the next channel. There's more than one repeater out there, so go to the other one.
How about you, Paul?
Well, so I gotta say, I've never been told that I shouldn't talk about something on a repeater, and there have been more than enough times where I'll be in a freaking mood, right? Something's going on geopolitically, and it's got me fired up, and I happen to get somebody on the repeater that we're having a conversation, and yeah, I'll talk about Trump. I'll talk about the administration. I'll talk about Biden. I'll talk about his administration. It doesn't matter to me. Like these are things that affect our daily lives. And so if you're going to get offended by it, you can have a differing opinion and we can have a conversation. But if you're looking to just be edgy, you want to be able to swear or whatever, like, it's not that you can't, right? I don't think there's a hard, fast rule anywhere in the FCC that says, well, you can't say these 7 words on the radio. It's George Carlin, God bless him.
Yep.
But the thing is there is inevitably going to be topics that are going to make some people uncomfortable. And you, as the person on the radio, have to understand that not everybody's going to think the same way you do. Not everybody's going to agree with what you're saying. But if you're at least open to hearing somebody else's point of view, then you're not going to get an old curmudgeon-y person that's going to be like, get off my repeater. They're going to be like, well, all right, I don't agree with you, and here's why. And you can actually have an intelligent conversation. And I think in so many ways, society is to blame for that particular fault, because it has gotten to the point where nobody wants to hear anybody's differing opinion. Everybody wants to be in a little echo chamber where everybody is like-minded and not in any disagreement in any way, shape, or form. But that's fucking boring.
Yep.
I want to have an intelligent conversation with somebody. And in order to do that, I have to be open-minded enough to hear their point of view and to consider it. And so there are more than enough times where I've been on a repeater, and because of the way that I speak naturally, I'm a little bit crass, and I talk like a sailor, and I'm brutally honest, and I don't sugarcoat things. I don't do any of the niceties. Like, it just is what it is. This is how I feel. Blah blah blah.
But I need silence. I'm gonna.
Yes, I will start kicking balls. But so no, I don't think that the issue is that repeater owners are gatekeeping, as this person, this freaking troll said so many times that, oh, these repeater owners are gatekeeping. No, they're not gatekeeping. It's just you have to have an open mind to hearing other people's opinions if you're gonna be edgy.
Right.
And that's my take on it.
And that's actually really good. Like, that is, I think, a good mature stance in terms of being a ham radio operator. I think I've always taken the stance of, like, there's always going to be 5 different people that have 5 different stances on, we'll talk about capacitor types. I mean, I could sit in a room with a bunch of people and they all argue over which capacitor type is better for this type of scenario, this circuit. And I'm like, I don't care. But in essence, I know you're passionate about it. So it's the same goes for, like, when you have conversations on the repeater. Like, I'm sure, like, I talk about Yezu all the time, and I give you crap about Team ICOM all the time. But, like, dude, I don't hate you for being a Team ICOM, and you don't hate me for being Yezu. It's like we both do HF. We both play in ham radio. And, that can be the same, whether church or politics or religion kind of play in the game. It's just that when I think we all kind of agree that, if you come into an environment, you come into a repeater owner's place that set this up, created this environment for you, there has to be a level of respect for that owner and what he's given to the ham radio community as a resource to use. So don't treat it like, it's your own little kick the can or whatever you want in your own home, that how you treat, something that's your own personal stuff, treat it with respect, treat it with the idea that, hey, an example that I kind of cite is I've seen a few people, they want to, like, they get excited and they want to attach other devices to these repeaters, and they don't realize that, hey, there's somebody that you're connecting to their infrastructure and their place, from your remote site. And you could be a problem for them if you end up, not monitoring your connection and you don't have a relationship with them. Those things, obviously you have to ask for permission. You have to be able to, like, say, hey, I'm interested in doing it. And a lot of repeat owners, if you give them or you treat them with the respect that, hey, I'd be interested in doing XYZ, do you have this capability? And if not, that's the benefit of repeaters, and why we have so many fucking repeaters out there is because someone decided to, hey, I want to do digital fusion modes, and I want to be able to have a backbone to the fusion, room, network and all that stuff. And so they went off and did that. So go play in that space if that's where you want to go. Don't try to always force the people that, set up that repeater. Like, our club's a perfect example of that. I mean, I remember coming in and I remember, sharing and had a conversation of, like, why aren't we using fusion? Why aren't we tying to the back end of the room? We're just using digital. Oh, we don't like digital. So we don't, digital's like, it just sounds so crappy. And yeah, whatever. That's just ear preference in my mind. But at the same time, there were so many people that were so adamant about, like, you can't do this over that. And it's like, okay, well then I just had to look up that, down the street, there's a freaking, fusion machine down there, and I can go play, on Mount Ukanunik and connect to a fusion room and get, whatever I want out of it. Now that's changed again because people have abused that, but that's a repeater's owner's job to be able to manage that and keep that up and running. So I think that respect, like Paul was saying, and Todd, I think you definitely said that too, is like, just, be kind. You realize that it takes time to get this stuff working and reliably all the time. It's just not like, oh, throw up a repeater and it just works.
When thousands upon thousands of dollars, in addition to all of the manpower it takes to put up these towers and put up the infrastructure and everything else, like
space,
like somebody is very, very invested in that equipment. And for you to think that that's your own personal thing, and you can treat it as your own personal thing, you're wrong. Like, you're just being an arrogant ass at that point.
Sure. Yeah. And I think the speech stuff is an interesting kind of topic because, casual conversation between all of us, obviously here on Live Free and Ham, we'll drop an F-bomb or two and, we'll be like, part of the lingo, and it doesn't affect, my relationship with Paul, and I don't think of him less, and I don't think less of Todd either when he drops, this is bullshit or something like that. It's like, but, at the same time, I'm sure, maybe we might offend one of our listeners. And if we do, we apologize. But in essence, we're not here to offend folks. We're just, this is just kind of like Paul said, this is my normal speech and this is how I talk. And it's totally fine. It's not like it's a, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe, it was very like, straight laced. And if you didn't say please and thank you and, yes, sir, and no, sir, and all that stuff, then yeah, it would be a different story. But today's day and age, it's a more casual conversation. And so that might be tougher for someone who's a lot older, who's been a repeater owner to deal with. But, be cognizant of that and be okay with the fact that, okay, don't be dropping F-bombs every 5 seconds because there might be kids listening, or there might be like, that's the fear is like, my kids were younger. I wouldn't want them hearing that on the radio, in just general conversation of that, fuck this and blah, blah, blah. And, oh, I just, whatever. And, you fill in the blanks. And, I don't want my younger kid to hear that, but, my 24-year-old, he drops F-bombs all the time. It's like, I don't really care. It's like, doesn't affect me. And so my daughter's the same way. So, it doesn't, it's almost comical because I remember when my daughter showed up at one of our field days, one of the older guys dropped an F-bomb by accident. And my gosh, you think he was literally like saying penitence to a priest because she was like, so sorry. I'm so sorry to Emma, who my young, was there. She's like, I don't care. What? I didn't even faze me. They were like, I'm so sorry for swearing in front of you. It was like, she's like, what are you talking about? So yeah, I get the whole generational difference. But dude, just, feel it out before you just storm the castle and decide to, fuck everything up for everybody because you just, want to talk one way. Be cognizant and open to trying something new.
Get on the repeater and talk, and if you don't like the conversation, leave. Come back at another. I mean, seriously.
No, it's true.
I mean, when I watched that video, I was like, And you know, and I know that there can be like clicks on repeaters. Like I've listened to repeaters where it's like, you know, a group of people, and you know, if you're the new guy coming in, it's like you kind of have, you know, they kind of, you know, like for an example, you hear a conversation go on one of the guys like, all right, I gotta go, and then you call your call sign out, and you know the guy's right there, and he doesn't want to talk to you, you know. And then the other guy calls back and he goes back in, like they want to just talk to themselves, which is, for me, it's fine. I think that it's useful. I mean, repeaters are also awesome for like traffic reports. I mean, seriously, because if you're stuck at and weather, yeah,
that's what they were very heavily used for when I was growing up in ham radio. It was like, oh, what's the weather look like, and you know, how bad is the traffic, and where can I avoid, because
how the road
GPS.
Yeah, like perfect example. Sorry to cut you off, Todd, but perfect example was last night. I had to run back to the RV park, and it was just before this snowstorm came in, right? And so I'm on the back roads going, you know, through Hollis and Brookline, and Ralph was on the repeater, and he was like, "Hey, listen, you know, I'm in Francistown, and yep, the snow's coming down hard, and it's coming your way. It's coming. Like, don't delay. Like, get ready because it's coming, and it's coming hard." And so I knew, and so like, I mean, dude, I got to the trailer, I got my stuff, and I stopped at the gas station. I filled up, and sure enough, the skies just opened up, and it was snowing like bat out of hell. And I was like, man, I'm glad that I knew, you know, and now I gotta hustle ass back home, you know? So yeah, 100%. It's great for that. Go ahead, Todd. Sorry.
No, I mean, you know, if you're driving home, like the other day, I was driving home and Route 3 was backed up at exit 5 more than normal. And then I put my call sign out there, and Eric called. He came back, and I said, oh, because normally he's like down in Mass. I said, just a heads up, Route 3 is like backed up like a parking lot. And he wasn't there. He was north, but it's just good to do that. And then if there's an accident or you're like stopped, you start putting on the repeater. You can see if anyone else is out there. The other thing, AA1W, he's like the main guy on the dairy repeater, the interstate repeater. But his job is he like delivers shit everywhere. So he's all over the place. He's in Mass. So on snowstorms or any kind of bad weather, this guy's giving a report like every time he gets in that truck, and it's awesome because you know exactly what's good, what the traffic is like. You know, so it's funny, but you know, when he is off that repeater, like he goes, I'm going on vacation for a week. It's like freaking dead. Like seriously.
No, but that's exactly it. Yeah.
Right. It's like AA1W. It's like everyone wants to talk to him. He's not there. It's like there's no one on the repeater. I'm like, where'd he go? Oh, he's on vacation.
Well, that's funny because it's like we all have somebody or someone that we know, someone who is what we call the fixture of the repeater. So like Anthony's the Ford Mountain. Dale NA1T is Mr. 5.2. Everybody knows when you put something on 5.2, Dale will come back every time, no matter where you freaking are in the, you know, East Coast. You know, your contact in terms of the Interstate Repeater Society. You know, there's always somebody out there that just they never give up. They're always the voice for the machine, and that's awesome. But it doesn't preclude you from not participating either. That's like, I think the thing that we all need to take away as hams, that we have. Back to that whole like frequency fight that the ARL does for us. If we're not using the damn frequencies when they do their scans and they do their checks to see what the activity is in a band space, and we're not using it because we're not just throwing our calls out there and causing noise on the airwaves, then you're doing an injustice for us in the future, people down the road that want to, you know, maybe get into ham radio because you know, it's just, you're not causing enough of a noise out there. And we all know that, you know, sadly, radio is not like the internet where you can see the message come across to you really quickly and then respond. 9 times out of 10, I'll throw my call out, like I mentioned before. Nobody's going to hear me. And I like, if I wait 2.5 minutes more again and do it, I feel embarrassed after a while. And I've gotten over that hill because it's like, I know people just, oh, they forgot to hear me. And I've done it. It's kind of funny. So I'll throw my call and it'll be in the middle of the day. And then like, you know, right around 12 o'clock, I'll throw my call out again after like 11:30 and Todd will jump back in, or I'll get, you know, somebody else. And it's like, there's always somebody listening. You just have to be the noise to be able to get the interest, you know, to have people come back to you, and they will.
And if you really, I mean, when I was new, no one would talk, and I couldn't get anyone. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just go for radio check. They'll always come back to you for a radio check. Then you can have a conversation. But like for me, like when you're making your calls out, I might have just gotten in my car and turned on the radio and heard you. Like that's happened but time. Like you've been driving and called and maybe not talking to anyone. That happens all the time too. Like you just got to keep putting your call sign out there. And, sometimes I might hear you or someone on the repeater, but I'm on the phone or, I'm talking to someone else, and then I'll get down, I'll put the call out again. And then it's like, either you're there or you're not, but I'll try to call back if it's going to be a couple minutes.
If you ever want to see how annoying the can I get a radio check is, fire up your little digital node there and log on the East Coast Reflector. And everybody who does that, it gets so like you literally in a guaranteed 12-hour period, you'll have almost 200. Can I get a radio check? This is Bob at KB4 ABC in Delaware, Nevada, or something like that. And after a while, like you get the admins going on there going, yeah, we can see you checking into the node there. It's like just use the parrot mode so you can hear yourself come back kind of thing, because like they want people to have like activity. And that's actually interesting segue, because although on the analog side, we all complain that the repeaters are quiet, but digital modes aren't much different. Like I can scan half of my nodes on Fusion or All-Star, and some of them, most of them, unless I run across a net, most of them are just like people like and this pisses me off. And ham radio operators, stop doing this. Hey, Bob, this is Charlie from, Colorado here. And, the weather, or I'm running on this radio, or this is my antenna. Well, and then they converse a little bit and they share each other's equipment. And then it's like, yeah, we got to get off this. We're going to clear the frequency here. So, we leave it open and available. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, use the frequency, dude. Have a conversation. Get other people to maybe jump in, because you might be talking about something they have an interest to. Like, don't end the conversation. Like, come up with other things to talk about to keep the conversation going. And then I'll make repeaters, both active and the digital world active.
I think how California, you can go from like San Diego all the way up to it's all connected. There's one thing, and the whole thing is connected. And they were talking about, like, I think all the towers made it, or most of them made it through the fires and stuff. Like, I know they were worried about that, but I think that's just cool that you can connect to anyone in the whole state, basically the whole West Coast, most of the West Coast.
It's called Telnet.
Yeah, and it's a repeater system, right?
Yeah, it goes literally.
I wish New England had one. Like we had we have so many repeaters. Like I wish there was a way we could link a bunch of them and make a New England, repeater, that you can talk to anyone in New England, because you've got repeaters everywhere that are all connected. I mean, we have some that do that, that give you more range and stuff, but it would be cool if there was just like a New England connected repeater system all the way from like Connecticut through Maine and Vermont.
Well, it depends on what
or even
got. There is on the digital side, there's the whole East Coast Reflector, which literally does the whole span of repeaters and nodes, and
it's actually so much more than just the East Coast.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
Like, yeah. The whole reason why I found the East Coast Reflector system is I was down in Florida on vacation.
Oh.
And the repeater that was close to the hotel just happened to be linked in. And so I threw my call out and I said, hey, can anybody hear me? Right? Like, just making sure, can anybody hear me? And somebody came back to me.
Eric responds to you in New Hampshire. Like, holy shit.
No. Even better. Somebody came back to me from New Mexico. And I was like, New Mexico? I'm like, I'm in Florida. Like, how the hell is this happening? And they were like, oh, well, welcome to the East Coast Reflector system. And somehow, like, an admin from the East Coast Reflector system monitors, and anybody that's new, like, they take your call sign and they send you an email welcoming you to the East Coast Reflector system and everything. Dude, it's great.
Yep.
Well, how do you get on that if you're like a new ham and you have you got your first mobile radio in your car?
Well, first
it's just
always repeater.
You what?
Yeah, it's just a matter of hitting the repeater that's connected to the system.
So what
Yeah.
repeater around here is connected to it?
You gotta make me look this up. EAS Coast.
Yeah, it's ECR.net or something like that. But I mean, it's just it's such a huge network.
Is it analog or is it?
It's everything.
Yeah,
It's
like
digital,
All-Star, DMR. It's all sorts of.
Is that Fusion too?
So
Yep. You can use your ham shack hotline to get in the East Coast reflector system.
Share this window here real quick. Show you what it is. So this is the giant network that they have. So if we just drill in,
that's the East Coast. That looks more like the.
Well, yeah, it's a lot more than just the East Coast.
Yeah, it's way more.
You can tell they've got nodes everywhere except Wyoming. So if you want to talk to somebody in Wyoming, probably not. But you know, in terms of answering your question, Todd, about
there's nothing in New Hampshire.
There's nothing in New Hampshire, but the closest one is Vermont.
Right.
And this is a actual repeater in Vermont. Not to say that you can't take your digital node and connect it to the East Coast reflector. Like I have an All-Star node, I can connect to an All-Star connection for the East Coast reflector, and be able to get connected to the large network.
So that's something that's what you have that in your car, and
or at home, yeah,
or at home. But how do you get the radio to connect to that?
Through a hotspot, basically.
So you're going through the internet.
So remember our little, like, we're going to build on a live stream. Todd's going to build his All-Star. That's basically how you'd connect. Yeah.
All right. So it's kind of like, so you're connecting, but you need the internet to be able to do that, or a hotspot.
From your home, yeah. If you have a local repeater, then you have that capability.
Which is connected to the internet, which does it. So it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work if, like, all shit hit the fan.
Todd, if all of the East Coast reflector falls over, fucking, I'm not doing ham radio on repeaters. I'm doing simplex, and I'm calling out help. I'm sure the shit's gonna hit the fan fast.
Or you're gonna text on your little
oh yeah,
Meshtastic.
Right, exactly.
Texting
find space before bomb drop. Whatever. All right, so let's kind of put some positive spin on it, because I know we could beat the tar out of this post, and we'll decide at the very end whether or not we will put this schmoes link in the description below. You probably Google it if you want to, for whatever reason. But I think some of the cool stuff, and we alluded to it a little bit of it. It's like, okay, how can we cause some noise? How can we get repeaters back to being active? And I think we all touched on some of that. Obviously, freaking pick up your mic first and foremost. Put your call out there 3, 4, 5 times a day, as much as you're in your car or your HT, if you can get to a local node. And the other part is what? Basically, if someone puts something out there, call back, talk to the person, introduce yourself, share your favorite hobby, have a conversation, but keep the conversation going with the purpose that it might encourage others to join in and jump in. And here's the one thing that I think a lot of us hams struggle with, and I do this myself, is leave some space in between your conversations for let somebody jump in, because we're not duplex, so we can't just jump in and it sounds garbly on analog a lot of times. Digital, not so much, but
yeah, Paul's good at doing that. He's really good at doing that. He does it all the time.
Space. I know, it's almost scary. Like, I feel like, did I lose him? No, he's
no.
So practice space, but at the same time, encourage to invite, like, say, like, and I do this sometimes, like, hey, if there's anybody else who wants to jump in, feel free. And, then continue your conversation on there. So invite in, don't exclude, I think, is a good, way to keep activity going on repeaters. And
yeah, and it doesn't have to be a long space. Like, I mean, at the end of the transmission, before you start talking, give it a 10-second count, right? Just go 1,
10
2,
seconds.
3,
That's forever,
4,
Paul.
5, 6, 7, 8.
I can't
9,
do that.
10.
That's forever.
All right. Yeah.
It's too long.
Dude, 10 seconds that's quick. Just give it a little pause. That's it.
It is.
Totally.
So, okay. So any other kind of tips in general, like both on the analog side, and then we can talk a little bit about digital stuff, because digital's a little harder nut to crack. But anything we might want to add to, say you've got a repeater in your area that you don't usually frequent a lot. Any suggestions on how we can get more people chit-chatting on that?
Well, so honestly, here's the thing, right? Is try different repeaters. Okay. Because you never know. A perfect example was last August. I was on vacation. I was up at the lake house in the Lakes region. Uh, Obviously, it's a totally different region than where I live, even though it's only an hour away. But the N1 LT repeater had just been redone that day, and I was like, well, I'm gonna see from my HT and all the repeaters that I have programmed in, right? Well, what can I Kerchunk? Okay, and so I Kerchunk. Okay, I can hit it. All right, N1OG monitoring. Is anybody there? And they came back and they were like, hey, yeah, so we actually just got this repeater up and running again. We, just replaced all the guts and everything and put a new antenna up. And you're the first person that's called out on it. And it's like,
Cool.
all right. But so now, like, that repeater is one that I will frequently check because I know it's a good repeater system because I tried all of the local repeaters and I'll call my call sign. I won't just Kerchunk. Like, yeah, sure, Kerchunk it, make sure you can get through, but then throw your freaking call sign out there so that somebody knows that, yeah, you're actually there.
Right.
Well, that's actually a good point. It was like how many times people kerchunk, and like I've done it myself. It's like I'll listen on our local repeater and I'll hear a kerchunk, and I know someone's kerchunked it. It's not the repeater IDing, and I'll be like impatiently waiting, bated breath, like who's it going to be, and nothing happens. And then I'm like, all right, fine, I got to put my call out there to be the first to kind of start the conversation.
Yeah, don't just be a listener. Throw your freaking call sign out.
Yep. How about you, Todd?
No, I agree. I mean, you just throw it out there, and if someone and look, I know a lot of people listen to our net and don't join in, which is fine. I think you were talking about how do you get people on there. Well, if you can get a net going, if you have a couple guys that can reach and say, hey, let's get on this repeater. You talk to their repeater owner, say, hey, we'd like to do a net here, or if you're the owner of the repeater, you might start getting a following because if people are starting to hear it and there's a net and you can and you use net logger, that would notify people, and then someone might be looking at net logger and say, oh, look at that, it's a repeater, I didn't know about that. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but like I said, I mean, I'm a big fan of like repeaters that work really well but have no use on them, because like if I want to have a in-depth conversation and I want to have a good signal, those Mount Vernon repeaters are great.
Yeah.
No one uses them. I think I'm the only one that used them because I've monitored them forever, and I've called out and I've only had it like, hey, let's go to this repeater, and then it's just it's like your private repeater, I guess. But I mean, it would be a great. I mean, it gets huge cover. I mean, I've called in and I've reached it like pretty far away. It's got a good coverage, and I'm like, that would be a good repeater for people to use in this area, for our club area, because it's got great coverage, but
so
no one uses it.
So good points. I definitely think the repeater, the conversation, making your own net is really good. If you've got a desire to want to try one, but the key is, Todd said, don't just start one randomly. Go consult the repeater owner. Go talk to him or her, because I guarantee any repeater owner worth their grain of salt would kill to find somebody who had an interest to want to start a repeater, a net for whatever reason, because they know that their repeaters get exercise. They know that you're doing something, and whether or not you're like the only one that runs the net for a couple of weeks, don't give up. Start spreading spreading it around a little bit, go on to other repeaters and say, hey, I've got a net going on at 5 o'clock or 5:30. And like, we do it a lot with our repeater. I mean, I think that's kind of how we got so much of an interest, is because people would just be like, hey, I know you're not normal. If you're new to this repeater, we have a 7:30 net or a 7 o'clock net at this time. And, you kind of fill those people in, because I think long gone are the days of, especially if you're talking to new ham radio operators, of telling them to go freaking consult the manual or go look up a web page. If you know a freaking, repeater net's at 7 o'clock every night on this repeater, share that information with them. Let them know. Let them make the decision to jump on, but give them the information. And guess what? You might actually get them to participate. They'd be like, oh, I didn't know. Like, I mean, that's how I found GSAR's net. I randomly, had talked to somebody on another repeater. They said, "Oh, there's another health and welfare net on this net, during COVID. You should go over that one." I'm like, okay. So I was able to, like Paul said, chunk it, and I throw my call out there and talk to somebody, and lo and behold, guess what? Somebody's like, "Oh, we have a 7 o'clock net. We meet on there. You should try checking in." And in fact, actually, that's in 5 minutes. So kind of thing. And so they were welcoming in that sense. So I think that's a good thing. One of the things I think we didn't like, I just learned about recently was there are a couple other YouTubers, specifically HR2O, that's kind of doing a repeater challenge, and I think it's kind of a cool thing. And we should talk offline a little bit how we can kind of help participate in that and maybe generate some interest, to kind of further this on a little bit to get repeaters more active. We'll say in the United States in general, but he's doing a 2 his what he's called his 2 repeater challenge, and with that, he's asking people to keep logs, and all you have to do is basically every day in your car, on the HT, whatever, key up the repeater several times. Throw N1JUR listening, and if someone comes back, jot it down in a log, and he's asking people to kind of collect that information. So if you maybe talk to like 5 people throughout the day on one day, log all that stuff. Just do a general log. Hams are awesome at logs. They all like to make sure their logs are, together and up to date. So build a log, and I guarantee you might actually benefit, because I think he's throwing a lot of, good prizes out there. So head over to his channel and find out more on that one. But, we'll talk a little bit more amongst ourselves and see how we can kind of, build that a little bit here, just to kind of move that needle forward, because I think, if we can help out and we can get people active, and maybe we'll have a segment on it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, cool. Dude, I would gladly donate one of our Live Free and Ham Radio makes me feel dumb every day shirts. To get people interested in just getting on repeaters, throwing your call sign out.
Yep.
Right? Don't just kerchunk, throw your call sign out, because if you throw your call sign out, people know you're there, and they know who you are, and they can answer you.
Say hello. ET's your friend. I can't remember what that phrase is, but anyway. All right. Well, so let's kind of wrap this up, because I know we all kind of want to get in, because I know Paul got really fueled up about this whole guy, and let's take this to the Discord. So I gotta throw it out this way. So we're gonna pick this conversation up, drop it over in the Discord in the show section. And so when this episode releases, let us know. I mean, have you checked? Well, the video will be there. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know what you're doing. Maybe share some stuff, experiences in that sense. But let's kind of keep the conversation going, because I think, I want to learn more from you guys, because, that's the only way I'm going to get better as a ham. But more so, there might be some interesting stories that we can all share and learn from. So, let us all communicate and talk on the Discord there. And if you haven't, been on our Discord, then, what the heck you doing? Come on, head over to our show notes. It's the links in the show notes. The website's got it. There should be no problem. We have a bunch of people that jump in there all the time. So we, we'll keep this going there and have that conversation. So I guess any final thoughts, that we want to throw in the hat, so we can kind of put a bow on this and wrap it up.
I would say, just get on the repeaters and have fun, and they're alive and well, and there's people out there listening. So get on them and make it happen. And don't believe when people say they're a dying breed. Don't believe it. Just go on the app, that repeater book thing, and you'll see tons of them. Just wherever you go. I mean, I travel, I go down and I just hit that and say, oh, what repeaters are around here? And there's tons of them. So it's, they wouldn't be listed there if they weren't working. So
yep. Well,
get out there and
working or not, hit them up, kerchunk them.
Yeah.
Throw your call out, like Paul. Don't just kerchunk them. Throw your call out.
Right.
Okay. How about you, Paul? Anything?
Just listen. Stop trolling. Like these freaking people. Just stop being a troll. Free speech is alive and well. Have an open mind. Be willing to have a conversation if you want to be edgy. Be willing to have an open mind and have that conversation, because you're the one that is being edgy. And just use the damn repeaters. And if there's a repeater that you're calling out on, say you're calling every hour all day for a week. This is, obviously the extreme. And you're not getting any responses. Well, guess what? Try another freaking repeater.
Yeah, check
right?
your radio
Like,
first, but yeah.
It's yeah, it's not like you're limited to one repeater. It's not like you're limited in what you can do and how you can do it. You know, just have fun, but be out there and call out, have an open mind, and have whatever fucking conversation you want to have.
Yep. Cool. Well, I would just second that as well. But I would say, hey, if you're on a repeater, it's new to you and nobody's responding back, find a buddy that is in the same general area and go over that repeater and just have conversations, because no one's going to really bother you for a long time. And maybe you might inspire others to jump in and have a conversation. So, and be polite, especially if there are people that have been on that machine for whatever reason. And, we've all been on 5.2 in local areas a lot of times, and you get chased off by sometimes saying, oh, it's 5.2, it's an emergency channel. Yeah, it is. Just be polite. If you're going to carry a conversation, move up to, kilohertz or something like that to continue on the conversation and leave that free and clear for the inevitable end of the world emergency that might happen for this person that's been waiting forever to finally say, I finally had an emergency, I can respond. Because funny stories, I came from a club that had signs on the side of the highway that had, if an emergency, dial call up 14652, and they had they had actual mobile base radio in the police dispatch unit that they were trained on how to use to be able to talk to other ham radios reporting in. So I understand why people are like, well, just use it for emergencies, because that's kind of how it was toted when, that's all we had. Now it's not so much of an emergency. People call those from their cell phones 90% of the time. So, and then the other piece is just be a voice. Just be a voice in your own neighborhoods in terms of repeaters and stuff like that. Get people interested, have conversations, ask questions of folks to get more, more of the conversation going, because the more you ask, and do what every ham does when we're on HF. Hey, what are you running for an antenna? Hey, what do you run for a mobile rig? Start there. And those are the easiest answers for people a lot of times to be able to say. And then maybe you can listen and they might say, hey, when I was blah, blah, blah. And you can ask a little bit about more of that and just have a conversation. And, go from there. But don't be afraid. Help practice, mic fright by getting over that stuff, But at the same time, if you're not mic shy, then, what are you waiting for, dude? Get on the freaking repeater and just have conversations. Have fun with it. Make it, make it whatever you want it to make it, and go from there. Good stuff. All right. Well, like we said, you can always head over to our Discord. We're going to pick that conversation up, and I'm sure the Grouch is going to be in his rare form again, sharing all of the awesome stuff that we kind of left off, which, we could have gotten. We would have been in 4 hours, time frame if we kept going, because I've got notes of all the points that I want to talk about. But, with that, we always appreciate everybody. And so, thank you again for joining Live Free and Ham in our podcast community. And so we truly appreciate everybody here and everyone who else supports us. And we all can't thank you enough, because, every time, we get feedback from you folks, every time we bump into new people, they always, say they love the show, and we appreciate, because we put a lot of time and energy and effort in this, and we love doing it. And we're going to continue to do it as long as you guys are, here listening, even after Todd gets his extra. If we have to replace that with another segment, I don't know. We'll figure that out later. Maybe we can pull. So if you want to connect with us, you can always head over to our Discord server. That link is in our description, and you can join in on the conversation. Again, this is going to be posted there, so we'd love to hear your thoughts. You can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can always catch all of our excellent content over there, and plus we're doing all the Ham Diary stuff, so you'll never know what will come out of our mouths and what we want to talk about. It's always going to be some fun stuff. We're just going to do off the cuff. It's not going to be, well-developed content. It's just our thoughts, random thoughts, whatever. All good stuff. So, and you can always leave us a review with our SMS link, with our phone number, and all of those are located in our show notes. And again, if they want to reach out to us, Todd, what's the number?
978-233-1142.
There we go. Nice save there, Mr. N1OG.
Why do you ask me? I don't know what the number is.
No, you were not paying attention. I gotcha. And you can always support our show by
I'm getting text messages from my family.
That's why I said, what's our show number? You can always join us by being a Patreon member, or if you want to do a one-time, you can buy us a beer. And you can always head over to Live Free and Ham to check out everything about the show, all of our show information, notes, swag, and all of our host contact information is there, including Ryan. So if you want to learn about Ryan, you can always reach out to him, and we'll definitely make sure we have him back on. I'm really liking the idea about where in the world is Ryan kind of episode. So we'll have to figure that one out. And so as always, thanks again for listening from all of us at Live Free and Ham 7-3.
7-3.